Recording in progress. Very good. So nice. So nice we are here together. Literally, because I feel, oh, very nice to see you. Very good. Very good. We are. Oh, I don't know who is behind you. Jack, who's behind you? I cannot see who is behind you. All right, Namo Buddhaya. Very good. Okay, I imagine that Rebecca didn't bring it yet, the sound thing for the center, so you're having to hear from that. Very naughty. Again, the naughty monk. Oh, call it the guilt. The guilty one is the naughty monk. So I'm sorry for that, but I hope you can hear me. Yes, I'm gonna try to
Yes,
speak
we can.
loud.
We can hear
Yes,
you.
I'm good.
Turn
Okay,
up
I'll
your
try to.
volume. We can hear you.
Okay, good, good. Otherwise, just adjust the hearing aid, Bob, like this here a little bit, then it's okay. Then you can hear. So I was thinking about today and I was like, okay, actually, we still have almost, I forgot already how many weeks we still have it for these tags. We have one and then we have two, three, four, five, six. We still have 4 more weeks for these, tags. And we are already um, on the seventh verse, isn't it? We are in verse number 7. So then I said, okay, so what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about it? Wow, we are completely, like Cowden has no idea what to do. And then I was thinking, maybe we just start it again. No, I'm kidding. No, we don't do like no, but I was thinking actually, you guys, we're gonna see it today. Um, it's very important that we remember the main goal of these uh, teachings of the Lojong. Yes?
Well, then what is the last week that we'll be doing the Zoom?
Sorry?
What is the last week?
The last week we're going to be doing Zoom is going to be September 25th. Yeah, I'll finish all my last Sunday will be 28th. Probably. Yeah, that's what we kind of like the last Sunday teachings is going to be on September 28th. Okay? Because then we're going to go be flying to India and Nepal. So then, it's to make sure that next time all of you come with us. So we're gonna kind of like make sure that you guys feel like, oh no, Calden is there. We're gonna send lots of pictures. It's like, that little in Brazil we have one thing is like, those chickens that kind of like go in a barbecue that goes like, like a roasting. I don't know how you say roasting. Yeah, roasted chicken. And then, but sorry?
Rotisserie.
Rotisserie, exactly. So in Brazil, we have some of these kind of like stuff, but they are kind of like sometimes facing the street. So then you see many dogs, street dogs, just looking at them like this. It's like, what are we gonna do with you? We're gonna kind of like send a lot of pictures and a lot of kind of like, look at us, in India, in Nepal, and then all of you is gonna be like the dogs in the rotisserie, like, ah. So then next year we all go together, okay? So we aspire, we create this aspiration. So that's why. So then I was thinking, okay, so it's very important for us to understand that the Lojong teachings, the mind training teachings, they are mainly the main goal, as I said, it is about developing bodhicitta, developing the altruistic mind, right? Developing that mind that is actually a counter effect, a counter or antidote to our self-cherishing, right? That has been, I think, I hope it has been clear for the past 3 months we are doing that. Because that is exactly what we are trying, to counteract, to kind of like stop. Because the self-cherishing attitude, the selfish attitude, the self-centeredness is the source of our suffering. One of the main sources of the reason why we suffer so much, because we think my happiness, I want to be free from suffering, so all the people in the world are here just to serve me so I can be happy and I can be free from suffering, right? If you think about it, that's pretty much how we live our lives. Maybe sometimes we have some friends and family, and then we kind of like play a little bit more kind and gentle with them. But if they start to misbehave and don't do what we want, we also start to kind of like, but me, like that, right? So then happiness doesn't come for us, doesn't come for them, doesn't come to anyone. So it's very important that we start to understand that mind that in Buddhism, and especially in the Mahayana tradition, in this school, we are trying to develop, which is the mind of bodhicitta. Okay, so the mind of bodhicitta, it's a special mind. It's a mind that is just not many people, and I myself, I sometimes I use the word compassion as, you know, the method or one of the wings of the bird. Or remember when we are doing the prostrations, I'm always saying wisdom and compassion coming together. But compassion is just like a general term, a non-Buddhist term for people to understand the basics of what bodhicitta means, right? Because bodhicitta is a mind that is much higher than just pure compassion. And especially as we talked last Sunday, especially very different than stupid compassion that we have been talking about. Okay? So it's very different than that. Therefore, we really need to understand what bodhicitta is and how we can develop that mental state. Okay, so this text, in some way, it is bringing us to train our minds already in ways to develop that mental attitude. Because what it's trying to do is that don't follow your automatic patterns, right? Don't follow the way you normally behave, or don't follow the way that you normally react to all of these situations that the text was saying. You know, when someone that we like hurt us, when, you know, when we see a wicked person, all of these things that we talked about in these last few weeks. What we do is that is say, don't do that. Don't let the self-cherishing, the self-centered attitude just, you know, control you, but try to really counteract it with this mind of altruistic, with this mind of compassion, with this mind of bodhicitta. But to be more precise, the mind of bodhicitta, which is this wish, I want because I understand suffering. Okay, so I'm gonna go in a way that I like to explain bodhicitta, because many people just say the mean, like the meaning, and then they don't explain. But I like to explain like this. Buddhism is telling us, based on the first noble truth, okay? First noble truth, the truth of suffering. The Buddha was telling us, check it out. Your current reality, the way we work, the way we behave, the way we speak, the way we act, the way our motivation is, actually brings us suffering. Even though the underlying wish that we all share is to be happy and not to suffer. However, if we actually observe the way we behave, the way we speak, the way we act, the way we think, the way our motivation is, we actually encounter the opposite of our wish, which is we don't find lasting peaceful happiness, right? We don't find that. We find very temporary sensory pleasures. And what we find is actually more suffering, because we keep repeating the same actions, and we keep repeating the same problems, and we keep encountering the same situations again and again, right? So based on that understanding of what suffering is, we start to understand the causes of it. And we start to realize that the main causes of suffering are, first, the more manifested, or the one that we feel every day, which are our negative tendencies, our negative emotions, our disturbing emotions as we talk, right? So we start to realize by listening to these teachings, by understanding Buddhism, that, oh, that's what the Buddha was trying to tell us when he started with suffering, seeing what are the causes of it, right? Look for the causes of it once you realize that you are suffering. So then that feeling of dissatisfaction that is always there, you know, it's coming from these manifested negative emotions, disturbing emotions, attachment, anger, jealousy, pride, you know, negative views, and negative kind of like a low self-esteem, anxiety, everything, you know, comes from that. So these negative emotions, they disturb, that's their quality, to disturb our mind. Therefore, they are the causes of these unpleasant situations that we have. Okay? But they are not alone. The problem is, the more we do it, the more we habituate ourselves to do it. So then karma or intention or action and result or cause and effect um, or habitual tendencies, everything in these kind of like synonymous or ideas, not synonymous, I'm going to be careful here, but like they are kind of like qualities of karma, right? Therefore, what we do is that we keep rolling and rolling and rolling again and again and again. Okay? So therefore, we are not only suffering now because of these negative emotions, but we are suffering again and again in the future because of these mental states, no? That kind of like keep us habituating ourselves more and more. But all of these, they come from a wrong view. Okay? The first and more subtle and the more gross wrong view that we have is the view of self-cherishing. So meaning that I am most important and I need to be happy and not suffer, and therefore I'm the most important person in the universe. And the more I actually behave in a way that I kind of like grasp to everything that this selfish cherishing wants, the happier I will be, and the more I like keep everybody away from me, you know, that I don't like, I'm gonna be happy. That's what it means. So this self-cherishing is a completely mistaken view. Okay? So this mistaken view is the cause, you know, like let's say a layer of cause of our suffering. However, where this self-cherishing comes from, right? Where does it come from? It comes from what we call self-grasping. What it means self-grasping? It means that we are grasping to an idea of ourselves of being permanent, inherent, self-existing, all of that. So because we think that we exist in this way, we need to keep that. We need to keep being like this, right? We try to keep that self-existing in this wrong way. In this way, we try to kind of like keep it existing. Okay? So self-grasping is the baseline, is the first or the most subtle type of wrong view that makes self-cherishing arises, that make the negative emotions arise, and that makes karma and the negative tendencies to continue. Does it make sense? Everybody okay right until now? Bob, okay? I cannot see Bob, so but I think he's okay. So far, that is the idea that we kind of like have that what is suffering and how causes, you know, suffering. If we understand that, okay, if we understand that, we start to understand that I want to be free from that, right? I want to cessate, eliminate these negative emotions, these negative habits, okay? The negative emotions. I want to stop them being self-centered, and I want to eliminate this wrong view of how I exist, this self-grasping. Yes? Makes sense? The most ideal is actually if we eliminate the self-grasping here, all of these other things fall apart, so they don't actually arise. Right? Makes sense? That makes sense. That's very important what I'm saying. So it's important that you understand. If I eliminate the self-grasping view, I don't have self-cherishing, I don't have negative emotion, I don't have negative tendencies, I don't have negative karma. Yes? Make sense? Good. Because then what starts to happen is that because I understand that, by meditating and by being familiar with the sense of equanimity, okay? So equanimity is the mental, the basis, the basic mental state that we need in order to develop these other positive qualities and these other views, including bodhicitta. It is by understanding that we are all exactly the same. All of us here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20, 16 people we have here tonight, we are all exactly the same in wanting to be happy and not suffer. Right? Exactly the same. And then we start to expand that and we start to see all human beings are exactly the same. All animals exactly the same. All different types of spirits or whatever, realms that might exist in the world, exactly the same. Therefore, I start to say, I cannot just want myself to be free from that. If all of these beings are also suffering, I also want to develop a mental state. I want to develop my body. I want to develop my speech so I can help them to be free from suffering. Yes? So far, so good? Are we kind of like going into the rational thinking so far? What happens at that time is that the Buddhist teachings then come and present the Four Noble Truths. So the Four Noble Truths are the truth of suffering, which we already talked, the truth of the causes, which are the causes, which we already talked, the truth of cessation, which is what we just talked, that we want to cessate and eliminate that, right? And then it talks about the truth of the path. What is the truth of the path? It says is Buddhahood. Okay? So actually, let me correct that. It says there's two paths or two kind of like goals that you can have to achieve these things, which is if you just want to be free from your own sufferings and free from the causes of suffering, that you can find then liberation or lower nirvana. Okay? So the Buddhist path can, especially that type of school, which is called the Hinayana school, can bring you there. Okay? However, we are in the Mahayana. So that's why we are talking about equanimity as the basis to say, I don't want to just be free from that myself. I want to help everybody. Right? So then that wish of wanting to like be the best tool, the best skills, the best like the perfection, perfecting wisdom, perfect kind of like skills, perfect power, perfect everything in order to help others. That path, that idea to help others in the perfect best way, the Buddhist path, the Mahayana Buddhist path says that you need to then achieve enlightenment, Buddhahood. Yes? So far, okay? You guys following? So that means that what we want to start developing is that wish. Because we understand that not only for my own wish to be free from suffering, but in order for me to achieve the wishes of every sentient being to be free from suffering, I need to become a Buddha. I need to achieve enlightenment. Right? So think about it. That the power of that mind for us to go through everything that we need to do in order to be able to accomplish this needs to be very strong. Because right now, even if it is for ourselves, we sometimes struggle, right? We know that waking up early and going to do some exercise or waking up early to do some meditations, we call it, it's very good, right? But we don't do it. right? We know that going to sleep early is good because then we can kind of like sleep, we sleep a lot and rest and all of that. We don't do it. We know that not smoking is like, smoking is bad, but sometimes we don't do it. We know that doing this, no, but we don't do it, right? Why? Because of the self-cherishing mindset that is very embedded in our minds. Okay? And this confused way of what we think will bring us to happiness and bring us to the absence of suffering. Right? So that mental state of bodhicitta, that mental state of wanting to achieve enlightenment, to achieve Buddhahood in order to benefit others, it is the main goal of the Mahayana tradition. It's the type of motivation that we need to cultivate 24/7, right? So we can actually more and more work towards that goal, right? Because if you think about it, everything is based on a wish or on a goal, right? Right now, everything that we do is because we have a wish or a goal. We are not being maybe conscious about it, but everything is, right? Even so, I always say, if I want to become a doctor, that's my goal, my wish. Or if I just want to be happy, that's my goal, my wish, right? But the way we're going to achieve and we're going to really come to the fruition, oh, that's a good word, fruition, yeah, of that goal depends on the motivation. Yeah, because if I have a motivation to go there or to go there, then I'm going to go there or there. I'm not going to go there. So if it's my intention to go to India, then I'm going to create the causes to go to India, right? If my intention is to go to Japan, then my intention is to go to Japan. I'm not going to buy a ticket to go to India if I want to go to Japan, right? So that is very important for us to start understanding the power of intention, because intention is the seed that will guide us towards all our actions until they are perfected, so that goal is accomplished. Yes? So that is why these Lojong trainings, these Lojong teachings, they are so important, because they are a basis for us to, in some ways, develop the path towards achieving that enlightened state, right? But first, in order to achieve the enlightened state, we need to want to achieve enlightenment. Yes? Because if you don't want, if you don't have that wish, then you don't put the effort in order to go there, to achieve that. So that is why in Buddhism, in Tibetan, in Mahayana Buddhism, we have two main methods to develop the mind of enlightenment. Bodhicitta. Bodhi means enlighten. Citta means mind. Okay? Mind of enlightenment. That means that we need to develop that mind of enlightenment. So we need to want to do that, and we need to then accomplish. Okay? So that's why we say that we have two types of bodhicitta. We have aspiring bodhicitta, yes, which is what? I want to achieve enlightenment. Yes, I want that. Yes, like wanting to go to the gym, wanting to do meditations with Cowden in the morning, and actually doing it, very different, isn't it? I remember I used to hate going to the gym. Actually, I think I went to the gym once or twice in my life. What happened once was that I paid for 1 month to go to the gym, and because I had the aspiration to go, but then never actually been there. Maybe once, but never again. These 20 years ago. Now fat and lazy me, so then never go to gym again. So so that is the kind of like the mind that aspires something because I have a goal, right? Because I have a wish to accomplish, which is to be strong and blah blah blah. That time, very crazy mind, all of this, right? So the aspiring mind has to be there first. I have to aspire. I have to really want that. And then we have the engaging bodhicitta. And engaging bodhicitta means what? Actually going to the gym, actually coming to the meditation, right? But not only coming to the meditation, because if I go to the gym and they're just hanging out there, I just like don't do anything, see everybody, drink some water, like that, don't actually accomplish the goal, right? It's like coming to the meditations. If I just come to the meditation and I sit there, but I let my mind go kind of like, oh yes, my to-do list, my shopping list, my this, like that, then, not actually creating the causes for it to arise, for bodhicitta to come up, for the enlightened mind to arise, to be, complete, perfected in your mind. So it's not only, engaging bodhicitta, just doing, let's say, like the practices. It needs to come with the aspiring bodhicitta as the motivation for the practice to then become something that will bring you to that enlightened mind. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Yes? Yes. So the mind of enlightenment is like so strongly important. So that's why we have what we call two, and also I need to bring that because the seven verse is going to talk about one of these methods. Yes, to achieve that mind of enlightenment. So it's very important that we understand that it is a process of aspiring and engaging, okay? And then we have these two methods, okay? One method is called 7 points cause and effect, okay? Or we can also say 6 causes, 1 effect. That's also a way to talk about it, okay? So we have 6 causes coming together and then having 1 effect. And this is very important because that already proves to us the same thing that I have tried to say, but I'm very bad, so probably I didn't say well, which is that nothing has just one cause, right? For example, the flower, the flower doesn't have just one cause. It has a main cause or a principal cause, we can say, which is the seed, but the seed alone doesn't do anything, right? Because if the seed would do something, I just put the seed over here in my hand and I just live here and then I have a flower. Is that possible? No, right? Why? Because we need other causes coming together and conditions. That's why we call causes and conditions. But they are also called in some ways causes, how do you say that? I can't remember the word that they use. Kind of like a side. It's like, when you go to Casa Maya, you go and you ask for burrito or any food. And then they say, okay, it also comes with rice and beans, right? Is like that. Okay, so rice and beans are, or the guacamole and that little thing, the other one, or the spicy thing, the other, all of these, they are kind of like things that come together for causes that come together for the deliciousness of the meal in Casamaya. Yeah, makes sense? It's not side dishes, but like cannot say side dishes, but like that, right? So that is very important for us to understand that the mind of um, of developing bodhicitta is not just one cause, right? It's just not one cause, but several causes that come together, right? The same way that to the flower you have the heat, the sun or the light, and then you have warmth, like like the nutrients of the earth, and then you have the water. You have many causes and conditions coming together, many causes, so you can have the result, which is gonna be a flower, a tree, whatever you are planting. Yeah. So that is also important for us to understand. So today we are not going to talk about this one. We're going to talk about the second method. Okay. The second method is a little bit, I wouldn't say easier because to be honest, I don't know you guys, but I'm very selfish. So anything that goes against being selfish, I don't think it is easy, you know? Because I'm like a baby. So everything that goes against me, I go like, nah, 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 no, like that. So anything that is kind of like selfish, is go against me being selfish, it's already hard work. But it's a little bit easier because it is, we could say that is divided in 5 steps. Okay? The other one has 7 cause and effect, or 6 causes and 1 result, but this is like 5 steps. Okay? So this is a little bit more um how can I say, yeah, more gradual and a little bit easier, because we're going to talk about what the name of this method is called exchanging self for others. Okay, exchanging self for others. Yes, what does it mean? Very important. Okay, very important. It means that we exchange our clothes with others and that's it. Okay, then we are done. Yeah, so all of you needs to put robes, because I'm exchanging my robes with you. So you guys have to use robes. No, I'm kidding, not like this. Not like exchanging robes like that. So what it means, it's actually we start to analyze. Okay, analyze by first equalizing. So the first step is called equalizing self and others, which is the idea of equanimity here. So realizing the idea that we are exactly equal in wanting to be happy and not to suffer. So that is very important. Very important that we understand that equalizing uh, self and others is the first step, okay, in that wish to see, or not that wish, but like realizing, oh yes, because if I don't have equanimity, if I don't have that equalizing part of seeing that, oh wait a minute, you know, kind of like all of these people, all of these beings, they are suffering, why then I'm gonna want to become a Buddha and wanting to perfect, you know, having unconditional love, unconditional compassion, unconditional wisdom. I can just have self-love and self-compassion, self-wisdom because I just want to be myself, free from suffering. Like people, I don't care, right? So I don't have that. I don't need that. I don't need unconditional and unlimited love and compassion towards others. I can just feel about myself, right? Makes sense what I'm saying? So that's why equalizing self and others is the first step, as the ground basis for us to wanting to develop and wanting to change. But before that, as we already said, actually the main or the first step is understanding the first noble truth, the first 2 noble truths, the truth of suffering and the truth of causes of suffering. Right? Do you understand why I'm saying this? Because if I don't understand what is suffering and what are the causes of suffering, the moment I try to equalize myself with others, I start to say, oh no, but people don't know because I suffered a lot, right? They haven't been through what I have been, right? We start to create that idea that suffering is different because maybe, you know, we were abused, maybe we kind of like went through war or whatever things that, or cancer or whatever bad things that happened to us, right? We think that we are the ones suffering because we don't understand what type of suffering we are talking about, which is that dissatisfaction, right? That ever pervading, that's a good, ever pervasive type of dissatisfaction that we all share, right? Today my brother sent me what Instagram thing that it says this kind of like a psychologist saying, I work with millionaires and they are very rich but very unhappy, right? So that is very easy for us to kind of like now, and especially I think that in this way, social media is helping us to recognize how suffering all of us are, you know, how we are all suffering, right? So that way we start to see that, oh, we are exactly the same in that type of suffering. Okay? We are not the same in different, more ordinary and gross types of suffering. Not all of us, are like hungry or thirst or not having a place to sleep and none of that. But some people are that type of suffering. But even that, those that have it, that lasting, that ever present, ever pervading type of mental dissatisfaction, it's always there. Okay? So that is the type of suffering that we are talking about. And that is the type of suffering that we are equalizing when we say that all sentient beings want to be free from suffering, from that suffering. Yes? Makes sense what I'm saying? Very important. Because otherwise, as I say, we start to do stupid compassion, right? Stupid compassion actions. Thinking that we know we can actually directly make this suffering go away right now. But if we don't eliminate first from our own mind this dissatisfaction, even in the trying for helping others, what are we going to do? We're still going to be believing that, oh, if I do that for this person, I'm going to find this lack of dissatisfaction, right? So then what happens? I'm still completely suffering. Yes? Makes sense? Therefore, understanding the suffering and the causes of suffering is actually, the first step. And then by developing that wish, what we call renunciation. I want to renounce. I don't like this word because I feel it's a bad word, but I want to be free. I want to get rid. I want to eliminate. I want to cessate the suffering and the causes of suffering. When I develop that wish, by understanding what are the suffering and their causes, and understanding that I can eliminate them, then I turn my mind towards others, right? And therefore, when I turn my mind towards others, I start to see, oh, they are exactly the same. Oh, that's why there is suffering like that in the world. Oh, that's why even the richest person in the planet, even Prince King Charles, is also suffering. Even him, you know? Look at the Diana, how much she was suffering, right? Poor thing, poor girl, right? So much suffering, but she was princess. She like married a prince, right? All the story like a Disney story. She had it not happy, right? So what happens is that we need to understand that, because then we're going to start on trying to look for also understanding how we achieve happiness. Okay? Because right now we think that happiness means fulfilling every sort of desire, every sort of satisfaction, temporary pleasure satisfaction that this ego, this selfish, centered, self cherishing attitude wants as the source of happiness. Isn't it? That's easy. We all think like this. We all think that, just watching what I want, just eating what I want, just doing what I want, and then, just kind of like everything that I want is going to make me happy. Right? That's the reason why we think that being rich is going to make us happy. The moment I can have everything that I want, then I'm going to be happy. And then we have people that had that, they're not happy. And even us, we don't want to maybe be millionaires, billionaires, zillionaires, like, but we just want to have something and then we have it, not happy. Right? Oh, when I buy the new car, I'm going to be happy. Then have the new car, not happiness. Right? So that is important to understand, that following these mental states, following that mindset, following the kind of like enslaved mental states that think that just fulfilling the temporary happiness, the temporary pleasures will bring us happiness, it doesn't. So what Buddhism is going to tell us is that in order to achieve happiness, the way is to doing exactly what equanimity is telling us to do. We just not equalize ourselves with others, but we start to actually pay attention to the suffering and the happiness of others. Because right now, we are just paying attention 100% of the 100% of the time into our needs and our happiness and our desires and our wishes, isn't it? That's why we have conflicts in relationships. Sandra and Brian can tell us, about conflicts in relationships when she wants, kind of like to have a Brazilian food and he wants to have burgers and fries, and they are like, yeah, like that. But that's how it goes. The mind is just wanting to fulfill. And then, we always know that Brian is the one, to give up the burger, and he has to like, okay, we eat Brazilian food. So for the benefit of also everybody. So he says to his mind, okay, I'm gonna be happy, and then he becomes happy because Brazilian food is the best anyway, so no problem for that, So then that is kind of like how we start. No, I need to stop. Not Brazilian food, Thai food. Sorry, Thai food is the best. Yeah, that's what we need to say. So then what we start to do is that we start to actually by paying attention into the suffering of others, right? By understanding that they are suffering exactly like us, by seeing, the people around us, our friends, our family, our partners, our children, our parents, our everybody, our colleagues, everybody on the street, everybody everywhere, you start to really understand that they are suffering because they have this mental state that think, right? Exactly like me. That by only thinking about their wishes, only being selfish, they're going to be happy, right? And they don't understand suffering. They still think that suffering comes because they don't have money, because they don't have the food they like, because they don't have this. So they suffer because of that. But we don't know that this is not really the real cause of suffering. The cause of suffering is the wrong views, is the kind of like the self-cherishing, the self-grasping, the negative emotions, the negative tendencies, right? So we understand that. So then, out of this understanding and looking at others and say, I need to do something for these people to stop suffering. You know, I need to help them to see that. I need to help them to really see how they are really suffering for no reason. Because it's not because they don't get the new phone that they're going to suffer, or because they don't have raisins for their breakfast that they suffer, right? It's not because of that. Jack is like, no, you definitely suffer. It's the inherent suffer, right? It's like it definitely existing from its own side, you know? So what happens is that then you really start to kind of like say, no. I really need to do something about it. I want these people to be happy. I want these people to have lasting, peaceful happiness within themselves, not just temporary pleasures. So when I start to do that, when I start on this path to looking into others, not as slaves, not as like a kind of like a servants to serve me and my wishes only, but I start to change that mindset and I start to think, wait a minute, let me also think about these people, this person who is here with me, happiness, and maybe I can accommodate my own wish to actually involve in like, as I say, is like also add, you know, to my wish of happiness. I can add their wishes of happiness as well, right? You understand? So it's like it's you go adding slowly, because now it's just your wish and 100% of the time. So then you just put a little bit. Okay, let me think about their wish as well, and then I put. So it just takes a little. So it doesn't mean that normally we're gonna just transform and say, okay, no, because that's stupid compassion again. Oh yes, I'm just gonna do whatever others want from me, and like that. And then I try to do that, and then everybody starts to not thanking me, starts to scold me, try to be bad, nice, and I'm like, I'm not gonna help anyone anymore. I'm done. Blah, blah, blah. That goes right. So that is the problem. That is the problem because we don't understand. But if we actually start to think, I really wish that I can help these beings to be happy, lasting happen within themselves, right? And not having just these kind of like sufferings of temporary pleasures, right? I don't want that. I don't want that anymore. So I start to develop myself and I start to act and I start to speak and I start to do things to help them develop that. And the more I do that, guess what? What happens? My happiness, my inner happiness starts to arise more and more. My sense of kind of like inner satisfaction, inner fulfillment, inner peace starts to arise. Because who doesn't allow me to have peace is this crazy mind that only thinks about myself, this selfish, crazy me, I, mine. That is the one who doesn't allow me to have peace of mind. So the more I let it go of it and the more I think about others, wow, right? The more I actually achieve that happiness that I want. So the more I develop that, the more I know what others also need. So I need to encourage others to actually think and want to help others in this way, right? And not just give what they want, not just give them, money or whatever, because that's not going to help them. It might temporary and we might have to do it, but it's not the ultimate goal. Are you guys following? Does it make sense? Because I know I'm a little bit on fire today, so I know that I'm like ba 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 ba. Okay, is okay, Bob? I cannot see Bob. Just right hand. Put the right hand like this. Okay, now I can see your right hand. Okay, so then that is very important that we start to kind of like understand that, wow, now I understand what happiness means. Now I understand what it means that I can actually do to develop happiness. Okay, so I need to perfect my happiness and I need to perfect my elimination of suffering. Okay, so to perfect my elimination of suffering, I need to see things as they are. So I need to perfect what we call, the perfection of wisdom. I need to perfect wisdom. Okay, inner wisdom. And this inner wisdom will start, of course, with the three types of wisdom, as we have said: the wisdom of learning, the wisdom of contemplating, the wisdom of meditating. Okay? These three things will be the tools to perfect my wisdom and therefore eliminate my wrong view, eliminating my kind of like wrong ideas, and therefore eliminate my self-cherishing, my self-grasping. Okay? But in order to be able to perfect that wisdom, I need to already subdue or relax or not be so self-centered. Because otherwise, the mind of wisdom is a subtle mind, is a mind that needs kind of like, like what we call concentration, needs analysis. But if I'm always distracted about me, myself, and I, and my shopping list, my food, my this, my pad thai, and all of that, then I kind of like suffer. Then I'm disturbed, because all of these makes the negative emotions arise, make the negative kind of like tendencies continue. Therefore, I cannot focus, okay, on the development of wisdom. Does it make sense what I'm saying here? Yes? Therefore, what we need to do is that we need to do both. We go doing both, We go kind of like learning, contemplating, meditating, doing in wisdom. At the same time, I go transforming my mind into bodhicitta motivation in wanting to help others to be happy and to not suffer in the way we just described what happiness and suffer are. Yes? So that is why, equalizing self and others is the beginning. And then what we start doing is the second step of these methods of exchanging self for others means, okay, what do I need is that you check the disadvantages of the negative mind, of the self-cherishing mind. Yes? I need to check. So it means like, analyzing the negative tendencies, the disadvantages of following or allowing the self-cherishing mind run free or be the ruler, the controller, the pilot of our own minds, right? So for that, we really need to check. And then we're not gonna have time today, so I'm just gonna try to finish the steps like in this way, and then we're gonna try in the next few days to really go a little bit deeper into this. Okay? So then we have time to finish. Very smart, this Calden, very smart. You know? So that what we do is that because I said, oh, I'm gonna have to bring a new text, and I said, no way, we can do the same text very deep because these people are very smart, so we go very deep with the text, so no need for new text. Okay, so what we're gonna do is that we're gonna talk about then the disadvantages of the self-cherishing, right? So very important for us to observe that, which is in a way we all know, right? We all know how being selfish is not cool and is not nice, right? We know that because we harm others, we harm ourselves, and then people don't like us, and then we don't get what we want, all of that. So it's easy to see, very easy in a way. However, that is not enough for us to stop kind of like, just stop being engaging or allowing it to be ruled by the self-cherishing mind, right? Why? Remember, I talked about that on Tuesday for those that were here. We have some sort of attachment for things that are known, right? We are scared of letting go things that are known, even if they are painful. Therefore, we know the self-cherishing. We know how it is. So what we need to do, we need to see the advantages, but then we need to also see the advantages. What are the advantages of cherishing others? So if I'm going to exchange myself, remember that the method, the name of the method is exchange self for others. So I need to know what is the kind of like how do I say, the benefits or the advantages of exchanging, self for others. I need to understand what are these benefits of actually cherishing others, as we say, because we're cherishing oneself now and we want to cherish others in the same way we cherish ourselves, right? So we start to then look into more details of what are these, right? What are these kind of like wishes, how we can do this, how we can actually develop, what are the benefits? And some of them are, I just said, right? Because the more we start to think about the happiness of others, we start to be happy because we start to let it go of this crazy mind of me, who actually tires us all day, 24/7. So that already, but not only this, if we go, we can also check that if we cherish others, if we think about them, people, think about it, people start to like you. And guess what? You need others in order to achieve enlightenment, in order to have food, in order to have everything, all the necessary conditions for you to achieve enlightenment to be beneficial for them. So actually, it's an exchange, right? The more you think about them, the more you help them, the more they will help you as well, right? So that is very important that we understand. Very important that the advantages, how good it is that we do that. Okay? So then we start to really kind of like say, oh, wow, I want to do that. I want to start. And then we start exchanging self for others. Okay? And then the exchanging self for others is kind of like it's a meditation technique, which is, but not only a meditation, but it's also an action or a speech. When we start to do it, to really do it in this way, like we start to, on our daily levels, as I was giving the example for Brian and Sandra, Brian just actively wish, like he really says, oh, wow, I actually am gonna not only want her to have, a Brazilian food, but I'm gonna cook for her, So it's like I actively start to exchange, right? And then he's going to be very happy because he's doing that. Not if she says, there's no good, not enough spices, not enough this, not enough that, doesn't matter because he didn't do it like with the idea to please her and increase her attachment. He did that in order to exchange his wish to control and have his attachment to pad thai and Thai curry, right? So you understand? Do you understand how how like profound it is what I'm saying here? Because normally we think that compassion and exchanging self for others, it is something that, oh, I need to do something to please that person for that person to do that, right? Actually, I'm not so interested here in that kind of like pleasing the other person. I'm actually worried or thinking how I can decrease and exchange my self-cherishing, my selfish attitude towards cherishing others. Makes sense? Is it being clear what I'm trying to say? Because they are different, words apart, right? And that's good because we're having smart people like you guys here, and then I can kind of like, oh, Sharon, you have a question? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah. Now.
Okay. You were saying something about attachment, like by Brian doing something
Yes.
not from self-cherishing, but from trying to equalize maybe.
Yes, or try to exchange his attachment to pad thai and curry, Thai curry, because that's what he wanted to eat, and he was like, oh yes, I delicious, I really want that. He says, but I'm being selfish because she doesn't like that, so let me exchange my attachment, right, for help, for doing something that will decrease my own attachment, right?
Attachment to yourself.
Attachment to the food in this example, right? Attachment to the food. So the attachment to the food is just how can I say, a manifestation of this self-cherishing, isn't it? Cherishing the self is doing whatever it wants, wanting the food, the clothes, the things, right? Makes sense?
I thought you were saying that she was going to be more attached to Brian because Brian was doing these acts of exchange with her in mind rather than with him in mind. I thought you said something about that attachment.
Oh, yeah, no, I would say the opposite. I said that actually he's gonna kind of like, even if she doesn't like the food, for example, he's not gonna get angry because he did that in order for her to thank him, right? So he didn't do it for that. It was not the reason. So the reason was not that kind of like conditioning, like, oh yes, I'm gonna make sure that like I'm doing that because I want to please her. He was not thinking about that, right? He was thinking about specifically to not make, his selfish attitude and attachment to Thai curry and pad Thai to win. Do you understand?
Yes.
So so that is the thing that is so important, that is like, is the action might be the same, which is to like, like cook and make Brazilian food, but it's completely different, the intention, right? Because if he's doing to please her, that means that the moment that she doesn't like, or kind of like doesn't appreciate the pleasing, he gets angry. Yeah, he gets hurt, he gets, But if not about that, but it's about saying, oh, the moment I decrease my self-cherishing, I am becoming more free, so I can actually help her in that way, right? That is the idea. So it's a little bit more subtle than what we were talking about before, about the attachments and the compassion, right? Stupid compassion. Yes. Thank you, sweetheart. Bob, is that a hand?
Yeah, I have a question on a different example.
Okay.
someone says something to you that you take as not nice.
Okay,
Is that self-cherishing?
absolutely. Absolutely. There's only hurt if there is self-cherishing. Why? Because there's only this idea, this permanent, fixed idea of how this person should, that you should be, and that person is challenging that view. You know, there's
Yeah.
an expectation from your side because you created, well, for our side, you know, not like that we create about ourselves and how we should be and how people should see us and all of that, you know. And therefore when someone challenges that, someone kind of like says not like that, boom, then it comes up. Yeah,
Thank you.
makes sense. So then, yes, so then what we need to do, exactly what the mind training text has been telling us. In that moment when the self-cherishing comes up, pew, you know, and we get hurt, offended, or whatever, instead of going with the self-cherishing as the driver or the pilot and, you know, doing what we do, we train that mind, you know, to kind of like exchange the self-cherishing wish to harm or to kind of like get revenge or get like better or whatever for cherishing others, you know. So then all of these examples that we have given in these last few weeks, it's one of them. But then really acting in whatever way. So that's what exchanging self for others really means, right? We really exchange that kind of like autopilot of the self-cherishing reaction into cherishing others. Because not because we just like want to suppress our emotions, but because of what we just explained, the other steps of seeing the advantages of doing that, because I find happiness when I do that, and seeing the disadvantages of actually following my self-cherishing if I do answer and respond with my self-cherishing, right? Because if I go eye for an eye, I already know that like problems will happen, right? And suffering for me and for the other person. And then by understanding and equalizing, you know, self and others, I understand that the suffering of this person is exactly my own suffering. And if I understand the Four Noble Truths, and especially the Two Noble Truths, the cause of suffering, and I can see that the suffering that I'm coming from is caused by the negative emotions and the habitual tendencies that comes from the wrong view, right? The self-cherishing and wrong view. So you have here the entire path to enlightenment. Then you can, boom, just by not responding with anger, you respond with kindness, love, with compassion, with offering the victory. Whatever you do, you exchange. And then the more you do that, the happier you become, the closer to enlightenment you become. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes, Bobby?
Yes.
Okay. So what happens is that, so this is the fourth point. So the first point was equalizing self and others with like equanimity. Then you was seeing the disadvantages of self-cherishing. Then seeing the advantages of cherishing others. Then equalizing self for others. And then we have the fifth one that is called Tonglen. Tonglen, it's in Tibetan, means taking and giving, giving and taking. Okay? So it's an even more kind of like subtle way of expressing this exchanging self for others, because what we are doing is that we are visualizing ourselves taking all the pain of that person, all the suffering of that person, all of the kind of like, you know, the suffering and the causes of suffering, and giving, as we say, visualizing, giving to this self-cherishing mind that we have, right? Because what the self-cherishing mind doesn't want, the problems of others. We are not worried, we are not caring about others, you know, we just care about our problem. So we actually, how do you say, intentionally, right? Intentionally, we visualize ourselves taking all of the selfish, the problems of others, all of the suffering of others, and all of that, and we give to this self-cherishing. So we see as kind of like toxic smoke coming to us, like, and then we like, and then we are bringing all of these, and we put it in this kind of like sense of the self-cherishing being in the middle of the heart here, and this is gonna make it explode. Boom. you know and then what we visualize all the good things that we have, all of the love, compassion, kindness, all of the good deeds, all of the generosity, all the patience, all of the good things that we have done. We imagine as white smoke or white light, and we give to others so they can receive all our love, all our kind of like happiness and all of that. So this is a extremely subtle and powerful meditation. Extremely, 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 extreme. Like honestly, if Ramazan Rinpoche once said, I don't know if he was kidding, but I try to do my best in this to always be doing that. Every time I remember, I try to do this because you don't need to be sitting and visualize, but you can just try to do that, right? Just try to see that. That is so powerful. And one of the ways to do like a Tonglen meditation many, many times is starting with oneself. Visualizing you in front of you and you taking all of your own suffering and giving to your own selfishness and you giving yourself all your love and compassion. Very special. Very special. Really transformative. Okay? So if you as this is Rinpoche, like my own, this is me. I don't have anything, no experience. I don't do anything. I'm just bad, lazy, but all of this. But sometimes, I used to do because Rinpoche very kind told me, you need to do this, blah, blah. So sometimes I used to do. Then if you like one of the results that that this is working, you sometimes cry when you're doing this meditation because so powerful, right? You really start to get in contact with your own mind. You start to get in contact with, with kind of like your own sufferings. You start to give yourself love and compassion and self-love and self-compassion. Very powerful. And there's I was reviewing, I can't remember for what recently, some of the material, because we are thinking about doing the Discovering Buddhism. It's a course from the FMT that is goes in modules, and very good. We're gonna do it next year. All of you are gonna do it, no excuse. We're all gonna do that. And one of the texts, there was one of the materials was talking about that, and I was like just reading about it because I was going to talk about it this class. Actually, that was reading that I said, oh, maybe I can use that actually to do this class. It was very smart of me. So then they said, one of them, they said, oh, you don't get sick, or you don't cannot get sick or something like that by doing Tonglen. But I have different experience and I have different opinion by Rinpoche, because actually you can get sick, but you don't die. You don't die. You don't get kind of like cancer, not like this. But actually you can even feel physically, that you're taking. But at the same time, when you give, it's like your heart goes like, pow, expanding. Very precious meditation. Okay? So, yes, Bob.
I would like your guidance on an example, because you say that that self-cherishing is avoiding taking on the problems of others.
Self-cherishing is avoiding taking, yes, the problems of others. Yes.
So when someone comes to you with their problem, someone sends you a text with their problem, and it's too late to help them. Meaning it's not an illness, it's a personal situation, but you really don't have an answer for them. No. And you don't want to take on You don't even want to engage in the conversation because you don't see a way out that's not going to get you involved in a way that you don't want to get involved.
Yes.
That's self-cherishing, but how do you deal with that?
There is definitely a self-cherishing there, because as you use it a few times, the I, like the way that you don't want, the way I things like that. So
Yes.
so that is fine, and that is kind of like understanding the limitation that we have right now, right? So you don't need to necessarily help the person physically or with money or with something. It's just training the wish, right? Training the mind. So it's kind of like you just start from where you are at, right? And again, also understanding the basics of that, of these, all of these that we have been talking about, which is understanding the two noble truths, the first two noble truths, what suffering means and where they come from, right? If you understand that, you will understand as well that whatever is happening to this person, right, it's a mental suffering that comes from not understanding how things are. So eventually, let's say like that, the issue in itself is not as problematic as it seems, right? Because it's just a mental, like a wrong view. Remember we discussed about the snake and the rope?
Yes, but it is to them. It is to
I
them.
know, I know that it is to them. I know, but
It's
you
a real
cannot
world,
change.
the real world physical, not an illness, but it's a real world problem
I
to
understand.
them.
I understand, but even if for them it is based on that. So if you have that, as I was saying, you kind of like, because you asked me about what to do with you, right? Your mind, not to figure like what to do your mind. So if you have that wisdom, if you develop that wisdom by understanding that, oh, because they are seeing a snake in the rope, right? So it's already take out that kind of like strong like kind of like concreteness, right, of the situation, and then you do what you can with that, right? Because you cannot explain all of this to them, you cannot, so you can just do what you can, and that's it, right? But without that sense of guilt, without that sense of kind of like oh, I can change them, or I can, literally help them. Yes, we can help materially, we can help this, but this is not going to necessarily help them to be free from suffering and the causes of suffering that we are talking about. Yes? So then how it helps, it's helping you to understand that, how to get rid of your sufferings and your causes of suffering. And the more you do that, the more you can actually help them. The more you have wisdom, the more you have compassion, the more you have skills, the more you have power to actually help them, right? Makes sense what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Okay.
So you don't have to respond.
No, no. It's not that. So I understand that what you're talking about, that is like, oh, it's like selfish means I'm not caring about other people. But actually, there's another part of here that we can come from another point of view. Remember that I don't know if I think when, yeah, last year I used to say, normally we are just seeing one situation in this way. So the more we have space and the more we try to kind of like, see things in like from different perspectives, so it helps. So another way of seeing that is to see, okay, that maybe your wish to help is that self-identification of being the helper, right? And therefore saying, I need to help, I need to do something, me. So actually decreasing that mind, not engaging and not identifying with that mind, is maybe better, and saying, being humble enough to say, I can't, you know I don't have the possibilities of actually doing something here. Maybe the only thing I can do is to listen to them and pray for them, and maybe, I don't know, be there physically, and that's it. Does it help?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, dear. So We didn't do any prayers and we didn't do the verse in itself. But actually, I think we did the best thing ever today, which was to understand how to make the motivation bodhicitta. So, when next time we're going to start it, we're going to say, okay, let's try to make our motivation bodhicitta. Now you guys know. You guys just think, oh, yes, I want to become enlightened because if I am a Buddha, I have, all the wisdom, all the skills, all of that to help eliminate the sufferings and the cause of suffering, right? And for that, I need to decrease my self-cherishing and I need to think about helping others, right? That makes sense? So with that, we start to really familiarize ourselves more and more. So then when we're doing the aspiration prayers that we do, then they start to make much more. That's why I'm using the word aspirations, remember? Because then we are aspiring bodhicitta. We're starting to aspire to develop bodhicitta. And then during the day, during the class, in whatever we do, we engage bodhicitta. We try to keep that aspiration in our lives and really act on that basis. Yes? Makes sense? So we're gonna stop here because it's already time for you and for me and for all sentient beings to sleep. So then I really, 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 really thank you. So I really dedicate, all of these. So we just take a moment to really dedicate, okay? Dedication is important even if we don't do the motivation as like by the book, the dedication, we can just make sure that everything that we heard, everything that we thought, everything that we contemplated, all of this really creates, that wish, that aspiration for us to wish to become enlightened in order to benefit all sentient beings and ourselves. So not only we make a strong dedication for that aspirations to arise, that's why we say, in that prayer, may the precious bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. So that's what we are talking about. But especially that engaging bodhicitta, that we use our body, speech, and mind, everything that we do with everybody, every single person that we are, every message that we receive, every pad thai that we will eat, everything becomes in order to benefit others. Okay? So really, let's dedicate for that. Then our lives become bodhicitta, I don't know if we have at the center now. I'm thinking, I don't know. There's a beautiful kind of like a quote from Lama Zopa Rinpoche that says like, live with compassion, work with compassion, do everything with compassion. But compassion, what he's talking about here is that mind, bodhicitta mind, right? So don't forget that. Really don't forget that in your hearts, in your minds. So thank you so, so much. You guys are very, very, very kind to me. Very, very kind. So I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, a wonderful Friday, a wonderful Saturday, and I see you Sunday for another blah, blah, blah. We're going to talk about love and
Thank you.
attachment.
Thank you very much.
Okay? So
Thank you.
thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
I